Hello YouTube and welcome to another Juniper tutorial. So in this video I'm going to show you how to configure actually a DHCP server on a Juniper device. So are you ready? Let's get started. So as you may know, DHCP server is a network server that automatically provides and assigns IP addresses, default gateways and other network parameters to the client devices. Okay, so it actually relies on standard protocol known as dynamic host configuration protocol or DHCP to respond to broadcast queries by clients. Okay, so here as you can see in the simple topology we have QFX Juniper switch. As you can see, so it always consists of a routing engine and the packet forwarding engine, and they are actually connected through the internal interface EM1. Okay, so this is the typical configuration that you will find on a lot of emulation software. So here for example I'm using JNS3, but it's the same config if you are using EVNG for example. Okay, and at the bottom you will find two PCs that, for example, here we'll be using just the VLAN 10 for PC1 in order to illustrate the assignment of IP addresses provided by this QFX switch, Juniper switch. Okay, so let me go to the console here and see what we get. Okay, so first of all let me show you the configuration of this interface here. So this interface XE001 is part of the VLAN 10. So if I do show config and interface XE0001, you can see it's indeed part of the VLAN 10. Okay, and of course if you want to see all the VLANs, you issue the command show config VLANs. So by default we have the VLAN 1 which called default, and we added also the VLAN 10 which has as a tag 10. Okay, but it's pretty simple. Now I'm going to show you how to configure actually the DHCP server on this Juniper QFX switch. Okay, so actually it's a data center switch. That's why you have actually this XE, which means 10 giga Ethernet actually interface. Okay, so as always, in order to configure the options we have to go to the configuration mode, because now we are in the operational mode. So let's enter the config mode using the edit command. Okay, here we go. So in order to configure actually DHCP, it's pretty easy. So we have to enter the command set access. Okay, then address assignment. Then we have to provide actually a pool. We have to set up first of all a pool for our DHCP. So we'll type the keyword pool, then we will provide actually a pool name. So for me, let's call it, for example, as we are setting up now just a pool for VLAN 10, let's call it VLAN 10 pool. Okay, and of course we have to give this pool a network. Okay, so the family will be the iNet, which is actually IPv4, and here we have to specify the network that will be assigned to this pool. So let's for example give it as network 172.16.0.0/24 as network. Okay, and I will hit just the up array on my keyboard in order to add other options. So the other options I will delete now the network, and I will replace it by the DHCP attributes, and as an attribute I will give it here the default gateway. Okay, so I will enter the command router So the router means actually the gateway. So let's give to this pool as a gateway the address of 172.16.0.1. okay, here we go, enter. Now we have to provide actually the starting IP address of our pool and the ending address of it. So let's start by the starting IP address of our pool. So actually this pool has a range, so we have to provide starting point and the ending point. So I will delete all that till the inet. Then here I have to specify range. So I'll enter the keyword range. Then of course I have to provide here a range name, because you can have multiple ranges in your DHCP server. Okay, so let's call it just for example range 01. And here we have to provide the starting IP address with the keyword low. So let's give it as starting IP address 172.16.0. so let's start our pool from actually 100. Here we go, enter. Then we hit our up array in order to avoid typing the whole commands. So it will gives me the last command, and I will give it the ending IP address. So I have to replace low by high this time. High, I have to type it good, yes, and start the ending IP address in this case will be for example 200. Okay, so now our configuration of our DHCP has been actually finished. So of course in Juniper devices nothing is actually running until you type the commit command. So let's commit our changes. Here we go. So of course we have to wait a little bit. Okay, so the commit has been successfully executed. So if you want to see all the changes to your DHCP servers, you can run the command show access actually. Okay, so you can see all the keywords or all the statement that we have entered in our Juniper QFX switch. So this is our pool, which has as name VLAN 10 pool, and the network of course is 172.16.0.0. so the starting IP address is .100 and the ending one is .200, and of course our default gateway is .1. okay, so now that we have finished configuring our DHCP server, there is just one piece of configuration left, which is very important, is that we have to set up our integrated routing and bridging interface, and this interface will be actually responsible for receiving packets from DHCP server and replies to it. Okay, so in order to configure this interface, it's pretty easy. Set interface, it's an integrated routing and bridging interface. We'll add it as unit. Usually we put the tag of our VLAN. So here for example we have VLAN 10, so I will use as unit 10, but you can use what number you want. Okay, and of course I will assign to it an interface. Actually I will assign to it an address, so I will use IPv4 address using the inet address command, and I will give it of course an IP address that actually belongs to the range. So for example .0.2, because I have already assigned .0.1 as a gateway, and of course /24 here. Okay, so I have to assign this interface to our VLAN 10 using the command set VLANs, our VLAN 10. I will add it as library interface. Okay, .10 10. Okay, then the final step is actually to add it as a DHCP local group. So we use another command, set system services DHCP local server, and here we have to add it to a group. So let's name this group, for example, local. So of course here we have to enter the keyword interface, or here I will add it local group in order to avoid anything. Interface irb.10. So those are the most important commands actually that we have to add in order to allow actually this VLAN 10 to get IP addresses from our DHCP server. And of course let's commit everything now. Okay, and after that you can actually verify all the options here using show command. Okay, so now let's verify that using show access. So here, as I told you, we have everything needed in our VLAN 10. So now let's see the moment of truth. So let's go to PC1 and try to get an IP address and see if indeed we get as our first IP addresses from this range here. So I will go to PC1 and I will issue the command IP DHCP, so it will enter the DORA process, which is 4 phases. So as you can see here, and indeed we get an IP address 101. Okay, and of course the default gateway is the one that we have set up here as a router from the DHCP attribute. So you can see how easy it is to configure DHCP server on Juniper devices. So that was just a brief video to show you how to configure actually a Juniper switch, in this case, as a DHCP server to your devices in your LAN network. As always, I hope it has been informative for you, and I want to thank you for viewing. Bye bye.